Welcome, everybody, to a new episode of Local Film Talk. I'm your host, Bob Walters, and this is the show where we talk to local filmmakers about what they're working on and about their craft. And today we're actually doing something a little bit different. Usually we're talking to either writers or directors, but today we're actually talking about effects, visual effects, makeup, a lot of blood and gore, I'm imagining. So I'd like to introduce our guest today, Mr. Will Stine. Thanks for hanging out with us today.
Thanks for having me on. Thanks for having me.
And I apologize for all the technical difficulties we had getting this thing started, but everything seems to be going smoothly now. So we will go ahead and get right to it. You do a lot of, well, I don't know a whole lot about makeup and the visual effects that go into it. So tell us a little bit about what that field is. I know you do like both makeup, like just to make people look good.
Yeah.
Like someone would do at a fashion show or something,
Yeah.
but you also do like a lot of the masks and the gore and stuff. So tell us what kind of stuff you specialize in.
Well, one thing not people know about is on film, you have to have the camera and the director and the actors. But a lot of times when you put the actors on camera with heavy lighting, they won't look as good. And you see a lot of shadows, and sometimes after a while they'll sweat.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what my job is. I make them look presentable for the camera. For most films, it's basically some makeup here from ladies, makeup, eyeshadow, lipstick, and whatever look they want to go for. And then throughout the day, I make sure their makeup looks good for camera. Make sure there's no sweat. I go up there and they'll say makeup. I go over there, pat them down, put some powder on them, dust them up, and then stay behind the camera, then do the next shot. Now a lot of times I do a special effects where it's the same process, but you either adding on prosthetics, like a monster mask, or like on Star Trek, like a Vulcan or a Klingon, or heavy full on like with Walking Dead, where like full on piece here, blood, full body suits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could get pretty involved, and you hear a lot of times in some of these movies or TV shows, the people who are doing that kind of stuff, the full body zombie stuff, are sitting in a makeup chair for a couple hours. So that's got to be pretty intensive. You've gotten to do a lot of that stuff.
Sometimes most of my stuff has been like about half hour, 15 minutes. For most, like for a lot of zombie show to work on, the tops is about 15 minutes because there's like a lot of people to do. And either it's usually by myself or me and a couple of people. We bring them in. Okay, here's a piece. Do a base paint, and then add a prosthetic here or blood here, and then add a little texture, and then next person, and then keep doing the same process and kind of mix and match.
Right. Well, those really intense makeup jobs cost a lot of time and money, which are two things that an indie production usually don't have, and which is, I'm sure, where most of your work has been. So it's. I know people are thinking, practically, no pun intended, but, they're practically trying to look at it, from like a money standpoint. So, sorry, go ahead.
A lot of times they'll do ahead of time and say, okay, we want like a full blue body paint with prosthetics here. How long would it take? And I tell them give me about an hour. That way it's a little overestimated, but just enough to where like, I can like bring them in, and they'll have them come in about an hour before call time. That way I can get made up, and then when call time comes, they're all ready to go.
Gotcha.
A lot of times you gotta make sure you gotta make them comfortable at the same time doing the process. Sometimes some people are like, oh, I'm so excited, and I'm like, yeah, okay, body.
Yeah. I know you're excited, but you're gonna have to sit still for another 45 minutes while I do this.
Sure.
And then I've also heard that there are some people who have issues with it because they're actually, what is it? I think it's actually a claustrophobia thing. Like some people are claustrophobic, and just having all that stuff all over them freaks them out.
Yeah, a lot of times it's claustrophobic. Sometimes, like some materials, like on one shoot, one person actually vomited because they were just now realized they were allergic to latex.
Oh. That's a bad time to figure that out.
Yeah, and luckily we had another option with silicone, but even they threw up. So like, okay, let's just throw some blood in him, have him out there, because he was like so wanted to be on the shoot. Sometimes you gotta make sure, like, especially with the like, full body prosthetic and like a whole body suit, you want to make sure, okay, for the next hour or so, just sit still and let us put the prosthetic on, and man, make sure they're comfortable, especially when you're making their a mold of their face.
Right. Because they got to sit really still during that process.
Oh yeah. Yeah, one thing that always annoys me is where I'm making a mold of a person's face, and all of a sudden, all right, quick, pull the thing off. And a lot of times that won't happen until like at the very end, where I do the mold on the person's face, and then keep some straws in their nostrils so that they can still breathe. And then I'll tell them, okay, at this point, I have to take the straws out, plug up the nose for about 1 minute, and then after that, I'll pull the thing off, and you're all set. Okay. Ready? Take a deep breath. Go. Okay. Yeah.
And that's when they flip out. They're like, "This is the most elaborate murder attempt anybody has ever tried on me."
Yeah.
So, wow. I mean, that sounds really cool. It's a lot of. I don't even know how you begin to learn all that stuff. Tell me how you got interested in doing this kind of stuff, and what was the process of learning it all?
Well, I grew up back in the 80s where my brother and sister would rent like the Freddy and Jason movies and the zombie movies with like creature effects, blood pouring out here. At first, like,
the 80s was probably really the heyday for that kind of stuff, the really awesome practical effects.
Yeah, those were the days of Rick Baker and Tom Savini and Bob Bottin and a lot of prosthetics, like the thing where like the creature pops out of the dog and like things are popping out and springs.
It's an amazing movie, and all that work is spectacular.
Yeah, and that's why, like, when I watched the remake, like, the CGI doesn't do as well as like the practical effects.
Right. No, I totally agree. Practical whenever you can, because it'll always, the digital stuff, the shading and the lighting over time, it become, the flaws in that become more visible, or, just pixelating, or the keying's not good, or like the motion doesn't look right. But when you have practical, even when it, even though it's usually not as convincing, the movie, you can tell it's kind of puppetry and kind of stuff, because it still exists in physical space. People are willing to go for it. My perfect example is always the Muppets. Kermit the Frog is a green sock with ping pong balls on his head, and nobody cares.
Yeah, and a lot of times, some people will prefer having a real thing on set, even if they're just doing a CGI character. They'll want a prop on set so they can light it easily and price it better, and then once it comes time, they'll digitally edit that thing out, but they'll put the product over that, and then edit the actual prop out, and have it so they'll know where to put it.
Right. Or you get people like Andy Serkis who actually go there on set and act everything out in a little suit covered with dots and ping pong balls. But it gives the actors something to work with. Rather than just staring at a tennis ball on a stick or something.
Oh yeah.
I remember one I saw that I was really stunned by. I went back and watched Legend, the Ridley Scott movie with Tom Cruise. I went back and watched that like 6 months ago. And there's a point, he's kind of in a swamp, and this weird witchy swamp demon lady thing. Yeah. And I just remember thinking, I was like, that looks amazing. And if they tried to do it today, they'd do it with a computer and it'd look like shit, but that looks great.
Yeah. And you want to know a funny thing?
What?
The person behind that witch prosthetic is actually Robert Picardo. He played the Doctor on Star Trek Voyager. He was also in Gremlins 2 as the security guard.
Okay, yeah.
He was also on China Beach, but everybody's like, that was him? I was like, oh yeah, that was him all over inside that prosthetic makeup.
Well, I bet you have a bit of an encyclopedic knowledge of all that old makeup effect from the 80s. Was there a particular Was there a particular movie or anything? You mentioned The Thing earlier, but what was really the catalyst for you to want to get into this?
Well, I was watching Friday the A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4. It wasn't so much the movie effect. The movie effects are great, but on the video behind the movie, they'll have a making of featurette. This is back in the days in videos where features come behind the movie, and
Right.
saw the behind the scenes process of like here's them putting on Freddy's makeup, and the scene with the girl turning into a cockroach, and the scene where the creature where the souls burst out of Freddy's body, and you see a whole giant dummy, and then like rubbing against the latex trying to burst out, and you
Yeah.
saw in the process, piece by piece, of going, you can make that? I do that.
That is awesome. How do I do that?
Yeah, and growing up, you around the early '90s, late '90s, 2000s, you have to go to California or Pittsburgh to go to makeup course, and the closest place here was the North Carolina School of the Arts, where you have to have an audition, go in, have like lots of money, and like, please audition. Let me be in your school and give you my money. Whereas at the college fair, I found Piedmont Community College, which has the same curriculum, but it's more affordable, and they teach you the below the line jobs, including makeup and lighting and camera and all that.
Okay, yeah. No, just as good a start. And remember, kids, there was a time before the internet when you couldn't just Google whatever the hell you wanted to know the answer to. You had to go to these things called libraries and get
Oh yeah,
books on the topic. Or, if you could find a VHS that had features, VHS, it was a cassette tape. You look it up. But
a lot of times for like making like body effects, you have to find medical journals and research pictures. Pictures were harder to find unless you knew a doctor who like found a picture with like the eyes blocked out so you can see the effect, or a medical journal and like look at the skin tissue and anatomy and figure out, okay, that's how it looks on the inside, and recreate that look. Nowadays you can just pull like head decapitation. There it is.
Yep. So when you took these classes at Piedmont Community College, was it mostly just makeup stuff? Did you have some of that? Was there any kind of, I guess, anatomy type courses, or just kind of looking below the skin at stuff to give you more of an idea of seeing what you were trying to achieve?
Unfortunately, we most of the classes were camera, lighting, wardrobe, production management, production techniques, and one of the things for makeup was makeup for men, makeup for women, and how to make a scar, how to make a bullet hole, how to make bruising, and we were about to do prosthetics, but by the time we did that, the class was almost over because the wardrobe class there was a wardrobe / makeup, and the wardrobe class portion overshadowed the makeup portion. So unfortunately, I didn't get to see all that sweet stuff before the class was over. But thankfully, I found another school online where I can learn about makeup, both prosthetics and fantasy makeup and fashion show makeup. It was a Elite Pro.
Okay. Yeah, that's you started talking about the makeup and stuff, and I thought to myself, oh, the class was probably more geared towards a trade, like doing like you'd be a makeup person for a local TV network and something. You're doing the makeup on the anchors, so they're probably not going to teach you a lot of decapitation and bloody scars and everything. But it's nice that you did actually get to do some of that stuff. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So,
and my teacher was Star Jones, not the talk show host, but he did makeup for Star Trek and Hellraiser Part 3, and so he taught us the basic makeup as well as some prosthetic makeup effects.
Nice. So you took those classes and so you got your knowledge base. And when did you start? How did you get into the business, or what indie films did you start working on? Where did you first put that into practice?
Well, a lot of times I throw up my resume to every single thing I can find, and this was back before Craigslist and such. So you had to like actually search to find jobs.
Mm-hmm.
One second. And so I just practice at my home, practicing how to do certain effects, and then I'll look up Tar Heel films and find like looking for crew for film. And so one was a independent film called Lost, and not the TV show, but it was called Lost.
All
And
right.
I did the makeup for that. And fortunately, the shoot wasn't finished, but I did a couple of days there, and I learned how to do regular makeup and some bruising. And then from that, I went to different shoots, looking for websites, looking for shoots, and I did a couple of short films in Greensboro, some in Raleigh, and some in Durham, where I just like, I'm not getting paid, but can I do this? So I learned how to do the effects and help basically hone my skills while at the same time networking with people. And then around 2005, I started working at the Channel 12 News doing production assistant work. And by that time, I'd been hearing like getting calls from like, "Hey, you don't know me, but I work with this guy, and he said you do makeup." I said,
Hmm.
"Can you help me do this?"
Networking, nice.
Yeah. And so I kept working at it, throwing resumes here. I'm doing this, and my big break came around 2007 when I auditioned for I sent my resume in for a movie called Eyeborgs, and I didn't hear back from them. So I figured, okay, and so they were doing a casting call for extras. So I figured at least I'll do an extra part. So I went to the audition room, and one of the producers was a guy named John Rushton, and he was my drama teacher from high school. And I was like, "Oh, Mr. Rushton," and he said, "Hey, Bill, how you doing?" "I'm doing great." And we talked and stuff. And he asked, "So what you doing here?" I said, "Well, I'm here to audition for an extra part for the show." "Oh, that's great. That's great. What's on your hand?" "This is my portfolios." "What do you bring portfolios for?" "Well, I also do makeup effects work, and I just want to show my portfolio." Like, I see. And he looked at it very intensely. "Okay, when you audition, we'll do 3 people at a time, but I want you to come in by yourself." Okay.
Hmm.
So I went into my audition and said, he said, "Let me see your portfolio." Looked at it thoroughly and says, "I'm not hiring you as an extra. Okay. This is too,
Oh,
I want you on my effects team."
nice.
Okay. So I got to work on the shoot and working in the effects team, making uh, prosthetic arms and robot parts using silicone gel and doing some prosthetic makeup here and making some fake blood. And from that point, I learned how to do more intense effects.
Nice.
After that,
On the
like,
job training is always the best.
yes, yes. And after that, I've been getting some more calls here. Most of the time doing I audition, a lot of times I get calls like, "Hey, you do makeup?" "Yeah." "I can't find a makeup person. Can you do this?" "Sure." "Hey, this guy, I had this guy on set, but he was too expensive. How can you work with me?" "Sure." A lot of times, so most times like, yes, and figure out how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing with effects is a lot of times people are trying, or at least they're trying to do something different.
Yeah,
Or, maybe they want to do something that's been done before, but they want to shoot it in like get a different angle. Like normally, oh, we could do this and it was just slightly off screen, but because you want the wider shot, we got to figure out a way to do it differently. So I would imagine that a large percentage of those kinds of effects are experimental.
oh yeah. I always have 3 plans, and plan A, B, and C. And
Hmm.
9 times out of 10, plan A does not work.
Hmm.
So usually plan B or C works. Now, on a rare occasion, the plan A works.
And you don't learn anything. It's like, well, I already knew how to do that. We'll just tuck that away.
Yeah. And sometimes it's usually a happy accident. Like one time, I had to make a doorknob jam into someone's throat, and that the doorknob had to stay in the throat. I said, "Okay, that's pretty good. This is pretty simple." Until I found out that the doorknob was really heavy and had a knob point out. I'm going, "Oh,
Hmm.
okay." So I used some gel to hold on to the person's body, and he kept moving around. So like, oh crap, how is it gonna stick the stakes? Kept throwing putty here, adding little cords here to wrap around, and put it putty over it to cover up the cords. But and thankfully there was a rain, so they caught hold shooting. So the guy sat in a room, and when the rain stopped for about 5 minutes, the doorknob stayed on the neck. It's like, quick, throw blood in there, go.
Just because it had that extra time to dry and harden.
Yeah.
Happy accident. There you go. So what's the special effects and makeup community like? Because like you said, I don't know a whole lot of those guys. I don't know if you know anybody down here in the Raleigh-Durham area. There's a guy named Bill Mulligan.
Actually, a funny thing,
Yeah.
I worked with them 3 times. One of them was the zombie film where the guy had threw up from latex and from the silicone.
Oh, okay. So he can verify that story.
Yeah. Yeah, I worked with them on the Fistful of Brains and the Forever Dead, and I got a call to do some makeup for a movie called Forbidden Woods, and I said, "Oh, we have 2 of the makeup guys who are going to work on the shoot." I thought, "Yeah, that's pretty cool." So I went down to the set, this little summer camp, and walked up and said, "Here's the other makeup effects guy," and there was Bill Mulligan.
Nice.
And they were like, "Hey, I know you." Said, "Oh, good, this is even better." Yeah, a lot of time we'll meet on set, and sometimes I'll find forums online, like makeup effects forums on Facebook or Twitter, and swap stories and talk about, hey, I'm making this bullet hole wound, or I'm making an arrow go through the person's head. What's the best way to do this? And they'll say, hey, do this, or hey, do that, and then after that, you meet some people, talk about stuff, and say, hey, you want to work together? Sounds good.
So it's a pretty supportive, collaborative community. People are always willing to share knowledge.
Yeah, it's not like on Facebook where you have to hoard the knowledge, and if you share knowledge, your team is weak and vulnerable.
Right. Oh yeah, I'd be happy to tell you that if you sign up for my 3-week course.
Oh yeah, yes. Hey, that's great. You can sign my 3-week course for about $500. I don't have $500. I was like, oh.
I can buy a lot of latex for $500. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite effect that you've done so far? Well, I guess before we get to that, we've been talking movies, but I was looking at your website, which we'll give it a quick plug, bloodybeautymfx.com is your website. You've got your portfolio on there, and I was flipping through there, and one of the things that I saw that really caught my eye was you also do haunted houses. So
yes,
tell us a little bit about that, because I hadn't really thought about it, but what you do is exactly what goes into making a great haunted house. So how did you get into that stuff, and what do you like about doing that?
Yes, well, that all stemmed back to about 2005. No, actually, 2000. Our school did a haunted house at the studio, and we were doing makeup effects for that. And after that, I was wanting to find a haunted house to do some makeup effects for, but every time I find one, they're either all booked up or the haunted house falls flat. And for 3 years, I tried to find work on this one called The Original Hollywood Horror Show. But every time I try to find them, but they're always either too busy or they can't find their number. And so around 2009, I was going through Tar Heel Films, and I found one called forgot that it was Fantastic Forest, where they needed some effects makeup for a haunted house. Now, and at the time I was in Wilmington, and the haunted house was in Raleigh, so I had to drive about 2 hours to the haunted house, and they showed my portfolio, and they needed makeup or prosthetics and also some masks. So I learned from there how to do masks, prosthetics, some things that you can be thrown quickly and then do the next person. And from that point, I learned that for haunted houses, it's not so much quality, but also timely, because you have to get everybody done ready really quickly.
Right. Well, and
And
you also have, I mean, not that you don't have control over lighting in a film. Obviously, you do. You know, you have that along with angles and everything. But, you know, part of a haunted house is a lot of times it's going to be very dark. It's going to be very moodily lit, you know, just one like red light shining on the side of the guy's face. So you know, it's not like they're going to be standing out there in broad daylight and it's got to look immaculate.
oh
Um,
yeah,
so,
I've learned through the haunted houses that for the haunted houses, if you can make it to where it looks really good in like a red light or shadowy light, go ahead. And a
mhm,
lot of times you don't have to be exactly perfect, just enough, just perfect enough to where they'll say, "Hey, it's a werewolf," but
mhm.
like cheat around here and like the shadows will cover things and it'll like look really cool.
Well, and ideally, people aren't going to be staring at it too long because they're going to jump out of their shoes and keep running along.
Oh yeah, oh
If
yeah,
you did your job right.
yes. If you can scare them, then like you did good.
So you've been doing haunted houses for, geez, years now. You were that first one you were talking about was 15 years ago, but I guess you've been doing them steadily since what was it, 2007? I think you had mentioned.
Uh, uh, for makeup for film was since 2003.
Okay.
Now for haunted houses, I've been doing them for about since 2009, so that's roughly about 6 years.
Oh, okay. I was
Yeah.
only 2 years off. That's fairly close.
Oh,
I'm just making up numbers here.
no problem. No problem. No problem.
But that's really cool. So between all your work on indie films and also your work on haunted houses, what's your favorite thing you've gotten to do?
Well, my favorite thing actually got two. One was I made a werewolf suit for a film called Monster Cops, and the werewolf suit was my first time making a full body suit. So I made the mask and the head piece. I made a chest piece and arms that come off so you can put back on,
Hmm.
make it easy to put on. I made a pants and sewing on fabric and make a chest piece and arms and claws and when I used had and the actor wore the suit and it looked good on camera and that suit has actually been used multiple times. It was used for a film.
Washed in between, I hope.
Oh yes, yes, washed and a lot of times aired out because a lot of times they'll sweat inside it. So like I'll wash it and then on the inside add some Febreze to air it out.
I was on a music video shoot a couple months ago, and they had these monsters where everybody was wearing black pants and a black hoodie, so all you could see was the face, and they had masks that you put on, but you couldn't see anything of any of the actors. It was an extra role, and there was a whole group of these monsters. So they had gone out and bought a bunch of these hoodies and a bunch of these masks. And since you couldn't see the actors on different days, they had different people in them, and nobody knew the difference. But they were always chasing the lead actress. And so the first day, they give these guys these hoodies and these masks, and they're chasing her down a city street in downtown Raleigh. And this was like back at the end of May when it was like 90 degrees outside, and they're doing multiple takes of these guys chasing this girl down the street and everything. And so the next day when I was there, they were doing a shoot indoors, but they gave us all these costumes and they hadn't washed them off. So we put on these hoodies and they just, oh my God, the stench of like stale sweat. I was like, always wash your costumes before you hand it to someone else.
Oh yeah, and the same werewolf suit was used for another film. It wasn't the main character suit, but they had a werewolf. They had a Sasquatch monster from the film with long hair and claws. But
Hmm.
the guy who was directing, Ken Camino, he needed some more creature suits to use as extra monsters for long away shots and random shots. So they borrowed my werewolf suit, and there were scenes where there's a campfire scene where one person gets ripped up, and you see the head of the werewolf suit with arms from another suit. I'm going. I guess they mix and match. And
Well,
a lot of times,
it was supposed to be a Bigfoot, but he was wearing the werewolf mask.
yeah, he liked this. He wanted to have another.
Okay.
He liked to look at the werewolf, so I figured he's like throwing things together.
Okay.
So like, so I saw like one part. You see a Sasquatch monster with he had like a big snarling mouth. So that's why he had the teeth. So I one Sasquatch run this way and werewolf suit going that way. And so how can you tell?
Nice.
I said, how can you tell? I said, dude, that thing's been sitting in my lap, sewing together. I can recognize the suit.
Mm-hmm. You have spent many intimate hours with that thing, stitching it together and everything. You know, like you know every bit of that suit. So when you see
Yeah,
it on screen, you're like, I made that one.
yeah. And the haunted house I'm working on called Wicked Whimsies. I used the werewolf suit 2 years ago, but they decided to do it a different direction. But now they want to use the suit back again for a jump scare. And I asked them, "Do you mind if I rework the head? Because the first time the head was basically, um, sorry, that was my text.
No, that's all right.
And so I used clay and plaster for the base of the head, and it was not quite flexible, and a lot of times it would fall forward, and the person couldn't see through it. So make a head and some new arms for the suit. So basically, I'm going back to back to the werewolf suit again.
Back to the old werewolf suit. Just give it a couple little update.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you've been really generous with your time, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. I don't want to tie up your whole evening, but if anybody has noticed, you're doing the nice vertical cam because you're actually doing this hangout via your cell phone, which is a new one for us. I've never talked to somebody on a hangout who was on a cell phone. So thanks for setting up this little experiment.
No problem.
But the reason that you're doing this is so you can talk to us from your creature workshop. So would you mind giving us a little tour?
Sure. Well, as you can see right here is the base part, where here is the table where I work on my suits and experiments.
Now, first things first. This is this your basement? Is this an extra room in the house?
We're in a townhouse, so this is the outside patio storage shed.
Okay.
Yeah. One year after living in our townhouse, my wife's birthday present for me was making this into my workshop with the intent of me not making a mess inside the house.
Ah, smart.
Yes. So here is the work table where I work on making a prosthetic piece. Right now, here is a mold of a creature, like a Gilman monster, where I used silicone mold and made a sculpture of the body using.
Okay. Can you tilt the camera a little more? Can't. Okay. There we go.
And so this is the silicone mold called Body Double, and for that I made a sculpture of the body, and then added the silicone mold on top of that, and then added the plaster bandage cast on top of that, because without it the mold is very loose. And here is the creature's face.
Oh wow. Cool.
I describe it as frosting a cake, where you take the mold on top of the sculpture and just spread it on to where there's no holes, and it covers the entire prosthetic.
That looks really cool. So that's the mold, and then you'll pour the mask into there.
Mm-hmm. I pour latex inside it and pull it out, and this is the face.
Oh, okay, awesome. That looks really great.
Thank you. And here's some of my this is my caveman mask I made just out of curiosity.
Okay, yeah, it looks really good.
And this is the new werewolf mask I'm making for the haunted house. And right now I have one ear right now. I'm gonna make another ear in a little bit. And as you see, I have the eyes, and it's all made out of fur fabric, and the mouth is very flexible.
Okay. Now, how'd that be operated by the person using it? Will they be able to control the mouth?
Well, actually, it's more along the lines of, more along the lines of there's straps on the inside that hold the prosthetic piece of it to the face, and all you have to do is just open your mouth like this, and the jaw moves with it.
Okay, so it'll fit to the actor in such a way that the mouth will move with their mouth. That's really neat. Now, with the eyes, it just has eye holes.
Yes.
Okay, so do they put on contacts or anything?
They can if they want, but a lot of times they just wear their eyes as is, especially for haunted houses. But
Like you said, it's got at a haunted house. It's got to be fast and it's got to be quick, so you don't all have time to everybody put in fancy contact lenses.
Yeah. And this here is a merman fish mask I made out of whim.
Okay.
And this is my Bub the Alien Bounty Hunter.
Okay, we're still looking at the fish guy.
Oh,
there we go. Go ahead and say something so it cuts back to you real quick.
Oh yes, and that's my Alien Bounty Hunter mask I made. It was originally I was going to originally use it as a witch's face, but the actress didn't want to wear a prosthetic that heavy, and so I was going to throw the mask away, but I figured instead of doing that, just rework it, fix it around, and then becomes the Bub the Bounty Hunter.
Well, like I said, it's about reusing stuff and finding ways to repurpose things, like using a werewolf costume, for 3 different movies.
Oh, yeah. And this here is my Lava Girl.
Oh, that's neat.
I made this originally. We made the person's face and the chest for a Native American film where I had to make an imprint of an eagle from here with the wingspan here.
Okay.
And I got to keep the mold, and so I made I took the head and the chest piece and made a Lava Girl makeup prosthetic for a Dixie Classic Fair competition, and I won 3rd place.
Nice. This was the North Carolina State Fair?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Do you enter that every year? Like, could people? It's 2015 right now. For those of you who are watching this way in the future, you can ignore this segment. But October is a couple months away. Can we, if we go to the state fair, might we see one of your entries there?
Yes, we will. It is actually the Dixie Classic Fair in Winston-Salem.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've entered it since 2012. I entered it a prosthetic / mask in the fair. 2012, I entered a dragon mask, which was red with wings and horns. You can see on my website. Okay. I won 3rd place, but a guy left his number saying, "Can I buy that?" And I sold it for $50.
Nice.
And it only cost me $10 to make.
$10 to make plus your entry fee. I'm sure you walked out of there with at least lunch money.
Actually, no entry fee. It was actually free entry.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So
nice.
I put that towards Christmas budget. And then the next year, I made the Lover Girl prosthetic. I won 3rd place and about $15.
I was gonna say, I think I can't tell behind over your shoulder. Are those ribbons or price tags or what?
This is my 3rd place for the dragon.
Okay.
And 3rd place for the Lava Girl, and I have my only blue ribbon piece I have. It's a Witchblade claw.
Oh, that is badass.
This is inspired by the comic book Witchblade, where a police officer finds a gauntlet that attaches to her wrist, and when she's in battle, the like sharp, pointy things come out of her body, and a glove comes onto her hand, and uses her this body armor to vanquish her enemies.
That looks badass. That is fucking awesome, man. Blue ribbon at the Dixie Classic?
Yep.
Nice.
My goal is to make the entire suit from head to toe. Ooh. And find some girl who's willing to model it for me. Unfortunately, if you read the comic book, it's very some areas are covered, and some other areas are not.
Yeah. This comic is not for kids.
Not really.
Still, you could probably go to a con somewhere and a convention, and you could probably find somebody to wear it there because people wear all sorts of crazy shit to a convention. I want to say it was Dragon Con last year in Atlanta. There were people who went to the hotel ahead of time and took pictures of the carpet in the hallways and made suits that were camouflage suits to the carpet in the hotel room. It was bizarre.
Oh yeah.
So what else you got to show us? Or is that where are some of your supplies? I got to imagine you have like 5-gallon buckets of latex and silicone.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is one of my gallons of latex. It's called Mold Builder, about 16 ounces. You can buy it for about $18 at AC Moore or Michaels. But if you bring a 40 or 50% off coupon, it could be about $9 or $10.
Nice.
I originally ordered it online through Cinema Secrets, which is about $20 or so. But I found you can find the same style material for half the cost.
Nice. Pro tip, kids.
Yes.
Speaking of that kind of I don't know if I would call it do-it-yourself mentality, but as far as supplies, what do you do for fake blood? I mean, I'm sure different types of blood require different kind of stuff, but do you make your? I guess the first question is, do you make your own or do you buy it online?
Some material. I'm sorry, I'll be right back. Some of my blood I buy if it's like blood gel for decoration, and for that I look for either Cinema Secrets or Wuchi or Ben Nye and find the blood gel and use that for decoration because it stays on there nice and neat, and you can make it as bloody as you want. Now for bloody up, like splatter on the walls or blood gushing out of the body, I've learned to make my own fake blood.
Oh, nice. As a secret family recipe for blood.
Yes. And it's red food coloring, corn syrup, chocolate syrup, and a little pinch of blue food coloring.
Blue? Oh, nice.
And I found that the blue helps it look more dark. Because the funny thing, people think that blood is just blood red, but a lot of times the dark arterial blood is more reddish black because it more blood coming out of it, not as oxygen.
Right. Now, does that stuff come out of clothes or carpet?
Yes, it does.
That is important.
Yes, everybody keeps asking me, does this stuff come out? And I tell them, yes, it does. Now, a lot of times I'll put in some liquid detergent that helps it wash out easily. But the only problem is you can't eat it. A lot of times they want blood to eat, or like put in your mouth and like bleh.
Right. Okay. Yeah, you got to make some sacrifices. It's like you want this, you got to give up this.
Yeah. And let me show you my makeup kit.
Okay. Cool.
This right here, I've got 5 boxes.
There's that bounty hunter head.
Oh. This is my lipstick and eyeshadow box.
Okay.
I have various eyeshadows. Oh, sorry. Trying to maneuver in this little small space.
No, that's all right.
I have blushes, and I got lip colors of different styles and shades. And
now, is there anything like special cinematic about this stuff, or you just go into CVS or Walgreens and go through the cosmetic aisle?
I usually go to like the Ulta and like Bobby Brown from Belk's, But a lot of times you can find good quality makeup at CVS or Walgreens. If you get them at the right time, when they're 40 or 50% off or 75% off, buy a whole bunch of them, and you have quality makeup for a small price.
Right.
And this, let me sorry. Here's my regular makeup box.
Okay.
Different shades of makeup, different varieties, and brushes and sponges and cleaning supplies.
You have a bunch of half full cans of blush and foundation and everything, the way I have about a million different sizes of Allen wrenches and screwdrivers lying around in my toolbox.
Yeah. A funny thing is, my wife says I have more makeup than her.
I don't doubt it, man. That is a big box of makeup.
Yeah.
For anybody listening to the audio podcast of this, it is a full-sized toolbox that you would haul around to a job site, and he has got it full of cosmetics.
And here is the top tray of my bloody effects box. I have character powder.
Okay.
I have blood gel, thick blood.
Thick blood. All corn syrup.
This one's more corn syrup and some more extra chemicals I don't know.
The stuff they use to tint Red Bull.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is thick.
Yes.
That's like the Goodberry's concrete test. Flip it over and shake it a little bit. See, it doesn't come out nice and thick.
Yeah. And this here is stuff called third-degree gel. This is stuff I use to make the doorknob stick to the person's neck. It's silicone-based, comes in two components, and when you take a little bit of here and a little bit of that, mix them together, makes a little putty. You can make burns, scars, bullet hole wounds, and after about 5 minutes, it will stay as is and will not sweat off or smear off. And when you peel off, there's no residue, no mess.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds like it comes in really handy.
Yeah. The downside is this little piece here, $25.
Tilt the camera a little bit. Can't quite see it. There we go. $25 for that, huh?
Yep, actually $20, but $25 plus tax and such.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Use sparingly.
Yes. Then this stuff I've learned not to use on haunted houses because they want that used every night. And
now, when you do a haunted house, are you usually volunteering? I'm sure they're not paying you a lot for the hourly rate and everything, but do they at least pay for your supplies?
Some haunted houses, they'll pay you about $100 a day. Others, they'll recompensate your supplies, and especially for gas money if you're driving a long way.
Right.
Right now, where I'm working at, I'm not really getting paid as well. Actually, not getting paid, but the haunted house is about a couple of miles from my house, so I don't have to worry about gas.
Well, that's good.
This right here is stuff called Ben Nye Aqua Color Body Paint.
Okay. And what do you use that for? What kind of effects would that be for?
For painting prosthetics, painting faces, making bruises. Say like someone wears a prosthetic, like an ice sculpture type prosthetic, and uses the paint over your face to match up, like Mystique from X-Men. it would use that kind of makeup for that.
Right. Okay. Cool. Is that all the toolboxes, or do you have some more?
Oh, I got a whole bunch more. Let's say this originally 2 boxes, and they were about small size boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And then it got to about 3 and 4, and by the time 2009 came around, it came up about 5 boxes. 1 for regular makeup and brushes, one box for eyeshadows and lipsticks, 1 box for eyeliner and pencils, 1 box for effects, 1 box for sculpting, 1 box for blood.
So when you go to work on a haunted house or a movie, you got a pretty full trunk.
Yes.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks for giving us the tour, and and talking about all your stuff. We'll go ahead and wrap it up because, like I said, I don't want to keep you all night. But if people want to see your work, where can they see it? Upcoming, or if any of the films that you worked on, if they're online, where can people see some of your stuff?
You can find me on Facebook. It's William Stine.
Okay.
You can find my website, bloodybeautymfx.com, and that website has a Facebook fan page called Bloody Beauty MFX. When you click on it, when you type it in, you'll find a skull with flowers coming out of it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's a cool logo.
And there you'll see postings of my upcoming projects I'm working on. Right now I'm working on the Wicked Whimsies in October, so I'm getting prepared for that. And also I'm working on a film coming up called Sins of the Wicked, which is the sequel to Sons of the Wicked, which I worked on last year.
Okay.
And I got some films coming out later next year, including one called You Found Me, and another one called Rap and Rhyme.
Okay.
Yeah, the last one was a gangster type film where it's basically doing regular makeup with some gunshot wounds, but the You Found Me is like a full blown horror film with throat slits, gunshots, and everything.
Nice. Sounds intense.
Thank you. And you can find me on TarHeelFilms.com and on Twitter, Bloody Beauty MFX.
All right. We'll try to put as much of this stuff in the show notes as we can.
No problem.
Well, cool, man. I appreciate it, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the stuff that you're working on coming out. It all sounds very gory and grotesque, which is what you specialize in. So I'm sure we will be able to see lots of your work in these pictures.
Oh yes.
Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to me, even though I know we had some technical difficulties, and I know you got a lot to do. But it's been a lot of fun, and I hope you can come and talk to us again sometime in the future.
Oh, definitely. I'll try to come back again if it's okay around October, so I can show you around the haunted house I'm working on.
Awesome, that would be cool. And I got the idea earlier this afternoon, and I'll have to, we'll have to hash it out a little bit. But maybe it being October and everything, if you wanted to give some tips for people for like Halloween costumes or something, some of the lighter, easier stuff that most people could make in their own home. That would probably be fun for folks.
Definitely.
Well, cool, man. Thank you for chatting with me. This has been another episode of Local Film Talk with our very generous guest, William Stine. Go and check out his website, bloodybeautymfx.com. And follow the same at Bloody Beauty MFX on Twitter. And we look forward to having you on again. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you very much.